Okay, these are our modern tools over here. We've got some pretty heavy field spallers. This is about 17 pounds, solid copper, 9 pounds. Here's a copper hammer. I don't really care for this particular style, but some guys like it. Got some additional solid copper for further spalling. And then I usually switch over to these boppers. The boppers are just great. They're fantastic. And they work a lot like the antler billets. Perhaps they're a little bit easier to use. Also have some issue sticks over here, just pieces of wood with copper rods stuck in the end. Little hand pressure flakers, more copper. Got a little horseshoe nail notcher over here. Got a piece of leather, some hand pads, finger protector. In a minute here we'll get in and show you how to make one of these boppers. They're pretty easy to make. Okay, I'm going to show you how to make a bopper. These are the 5 boppers that I use. The 2 inches for really large blades. Got a 1.5 inches, 1 1/4, 1 inch, 3/4. We're going to make a 1 inch. I'll show you how I do that. The 1 inch is probably the one I use more than any other. You can use it for really small bifaces all the way up to fairly large. But you know, if you're working something really large, you'll need one of these larger ones over here. Okay, to make a bopper like this, what you need is a copper cap. You can get these at Lowe's. 1 inch like this, I think it's like $1.50, something like that. And you need some way to dome it, and I'll go over the way I do that in a minute here. Then you need lead. I use tire weights. You can also use fishing sinkers or any other source of lead that you have. Tire weights have alloys in them, so they're a little bit harder than the pure lead that you'll find in fishing sinkers. So they'll tend to not dome over as much and get real pointed like your softer lead will. Then you'll need a source of wood. I like to use tree branches. They just have a better feel on the hand. You can go get a wooden dowel, whatever you like. Tree branches are real nice, they're a little bit stronger. Just get one that's roughly the size of the copper cap that you're going to be using. Okay, what I like to do is use the tail end of my boppers as a sort of a die in order to make a new copper cap and get it rounded like that. So you can just take a pocket knife here, whittle it down a little bit, and that serves as a good die. Okay, you just take your copper cap, put it on the tail end of your bopper there. Make sure it'll swivel around real nice. Take your hammer and just start rotating it as you go around like that. Simple as that. Takes 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes max. You'll see it start to dome up like that. I'll show you in a second. Okay, that's it. Took maybe 2 minutes altogether. Got a nice little dome on there. And you can see it's a pretty good match to our other boppers. You don't want them too flat and you don't want them too pointy. I think this is just about right. Next thing is you want to scratch up the inside a little bit with some sandpaper. So just take a little piece of sandpaper like that, put your finger in there, and just scuff it up real good so that you get a better bond with the lead on the copper. When you get done with that, I like to use a little bit of flux. Put my finger in there. You don't have to have the flux. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. I've done it without it. It seems to work pretty good, but sure can't hurt. Give you a little bit better bond. Now we're ready to fill that thing with lead. Okay, I just use a simple propane torch like this. And I always do this outdoors so I don't breathe any lead vapor. There's not much wind, it's a little breezy today. I like to use a fan, keep the vapors going away from me. Basically just fill up that cap with lead. Okay, I like to fill them up to within about 3 inches of the lid here, on the top of it. And then when you get it all heated up, I heat it up a little bit more. And if I'm using these tire weights, I like to get the slag off of there. We'll let that cool. I don't like to quench them in water because sometimes you'll lose your bond. Just take our tree branch, mark it right here where we want to cut it. Just cut it to length. Just draw a little line on it where we want to trim it. That's about right. Just take our pocket knife, put a little groove around it. You get the idea. Just whittle it down until you get a pretty good fit. It just takes a couple of minutes. And we'll whittle down the back end, round it off a little bit. Here's our finished handle. Just need to epoxy it. Before you glue it on, I like to sand the inside a little bit again. I use 5-minute epoxy. You can use Gorilla Glue. I think this works a little better. Just mix that stuff up a little bit, 20-30 seconds. Just take your cap, fill it with epoxy. Just let that harden. Okay, here's our finished billet, all ready to use.